the February Sustainability Commission meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. Start with roll call. Chair Krista Keenan here. Vice Chair Ned Dorf.
Present.
Alder Joey Presley.
Here.
Jenny Brinker.
Present.
Julia Nordyke.
Present.
Amy Cox.
Present.
Mark Walter.
Present.
Daniela Beal.
Here.
And Corey Mim. Present. Thank you. First up, we have approval of our agenda. Would anyone like to move to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Alder Presley. I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Agenda approved. Moving on to the approval of our minutes from last month in January. Anyone like to move to approve those?
I'll move to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Did you get those?
Mark Walter and Julia Nordyke, second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So approved. Next up, looks like no announcements today.
We did not have any come in.
All right. Then on to regular business. Discussing the 2025 Sustainability Commission work plan with some amendments and updates. Do you want to pull that up on the screen, or should everyone refer to their packets?
Let me just see if I can.
While she's pulling it up, I'll go ahead and open the floor. It is in y'all's packets. Let's see, page 4 of your packets, if you'd like to follow along. I think just about every work group made at least some minor revisions. This is potentially the final version pending any adjustments that come out of today. Open the floor for discussion, comments. Anyone online have anything you want to weigh in on?
Can you see that, people? The
Thumbs up.
agenda?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, let me just scroll to the work plan.
And everyone in person has it. You can see it on your computers.
Yeah, it's gonna be kind of hard to see it.
That's okay. Great.
I would like to put
Yes.
a target date in for Healthy Habitat, the mapping.
Okay.
So one of the actions was to promote the city's pollinator corridor map, including access by the public. I'd like us to start promoting that by June of 2025.
For what action?
Promoting the city's pollinator corridor map.
The fifth bullet under actions.
Sorry?
Well, we were just clarifying in person
Okay.
which section you're referring to.
It's in the Healthy Habitat for All section, I'm sorry.
So Ned, do you want that June target date to be under the target date TBD? And then have it be specific to the pollinator map?
Right, I think, because I didn't put any dates on any of those, but I do think having some promotion around that map by June would be good, so gardeners are aware of it.
And I'm sorry that I don't know this, but do we have a current map?
It's really being housed with Maria Otto. So she's the one who's collected all the data points. And I don't know how accessible that has been to the public, so that is something that I can follow up with her on too.
So, Ned, that might be a good kind of point of discussion. So for a few of the action items for that Healthy Habitat for All work plan, I don't know if you took a look at the amended work plan that incorporated all of the changes. But the way I phrased that, I took some liberties and said promote, so we'll use this example, the city's pollinator corridor map, including access by the public. So kind of phrasing as promoting access by the public, partly because I just wasn't sure we could ensure access by the public, so I said, let's promote access by the public. Are you comfortable with that for those action items in general?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I am. You said you replaced ensure with promote.
Yeah, I said promote that, including access by the public, and that was promote the city's municipal planting policy, including access by the public, promote the city's pesticide use plan, including access by the public, and then promote the city's pollinator corridor map, including access by the public.
Yes, I would like those items to be easily searched by the
Yeah.
public.
Well, and that might bring up another point on here, which is flexibility around no-mow/low-mow may, which merges into our next discussion item, but will impact this one, so I don't think we can move off of this one without having a bit of that discussion. So, is it okay that we discuss some of it now and then make a formal action when we get to the next section?
Probably.
Anyone have any concern with that? All right, then that's what we'll do. We had a few folks with some thoughts around no-mow/low-mow may. Anyone want to weigh in on that? Who was directly involved in some of the recommendations?
Yeah, we were, basically, I mean, I helped put together the agenda item F.2, discussion and possible action to discontinue no mow may. I was talking to staff and then also just based on some of the things I know about no mow may in general. It's in the background materials, you know, it's a really good way to encourage residents to reduce or delay mowing. And it can be a really good way to encourage people to think differently about lawn care practices and promote pollinator habitat in general. And then also, there's been some challenges in implementation with including administrative challenges and then just potentially overall program efficacy. The city of De Pere recently stopped no mow may. The city of Appleton did last year. Also, they reversed their no mow may and they actually changed it to
No less.
slow mo,
Slow.
which whatever. So slow mo. I'm sure that's a play off the slow food movement kind of thing. Slow mo. And so I after talking to staff too, I guess I was gonna put forth a recommendation to potentially discontinue it based on current conditions, based on conversation. I've have my own thoughts about it since we even started it. I wasn't really always in favor of the program anyway because the practices are somewhat, they're, what's the word? They're like the opposite of practices for good stormwater management on lawns. Practices that we really have been trying to that are just generally out there. You're really supposed to mow frequently in the spring and mow higher, but mow frequently to get a good root system. Yes.
Yeah.
So, and then also, I mean, just anecdotally, our lawns are very monoculture and in general, so it's not like we have like those early spring pollinator flowers coming up in your yard potentially. I mean, anecdotally, I mow my lawn and the dandelions are like literally popped up to within an hour. Anyway, so so those are just anecdotal. I have also heard on the other side though, where it has been beneficial from like one of our commission members, And it's a good starting place for a conversation about encouraging pollinators in general. So I do recognize there are benefits to the program. I definitely, as a commissioner, just think that the downfalls are like probably more so than the benefits from my perspective.
And as a participant in No Mow May for the last, since we started it and even before that, I have mixed results as well. My backyard is very sunny, even though it faces north, and gets fertilized by the dog frequently. So if I let it go until the end of May, I measured the last 2 years, my lawn is about 16 inches tall lawn. I mean, it grows really well. Front yard I can mow, I don't have to mow till June because it's shaded and a different soil type, but I get a lot of pollinators actually in my front yard because I have lots of bulbs planted and other weeds that I let grow. So mixed results. No Mow May is a little, the timing, it may not be the best thing in the world. I understand the benefits of it, but yeah, I would probably support also moving away from No Mow May myself. It is a monoculture, as we said, it's grass for
Well,
the most
yeah.
part. Unless you have,
I mean, I have the weediest yard probably in this city, and it doesn't matter if I mow the grass or not. I mean, and there, like, there's like Creeping Charlie.
Yep.
Apparently that's great for pollinators, so. And that doesn't get mowed. It's too low. Clover, I've integrated clover into my yard because it's actually an anti-weed one, and those flowers don't really come out till like June, but those are bee pollinator crazy stuff. So I feel like there's other things you could do, especially, and then we have the planned landscape stuff. So that's just generally, and then, so I think the administrative costs have been more, in my opinion, that's just what,
Yeah, I mean,
that's where I'm coming from.
I can speak to some of the administrative challenges and, for one thing, just from a department, we are, the long grass complaints, like, really skyrocket during that month. And, we do a good job of trying to manage those. And then, we have to check back on the No Mow May registration map and, be able to advise, like, if we move forward on that or that, like, do we go out and visit the homeowner? Do we not? When I say we, I'm talking about like operations staff that actually has to, respond to complaints like that. We've had other property owners basically just take advantage of No Mow May as a reason not to mow, not because it's for pollinator habitat, but because they have a bunch of vacant lots in the city. And, it's, and there's some of the long grass offenders, like even outside of No Mow May. So there's that, there's the signs being stolen, then they need to be replaced. Then there's,
Lawn clippings, I think.
the lawn clippings, that, that comes near the end of No Mow May. So then, residents calling in saying, okay, well, I need somebody to come and pick up all my lawn clippings because I did No Mow May. And we tried to, we try very hard to make, very clear that that's your responsibility to clear your lawn clippings and, direct people to the yard waste collection sites that we have. And, it's still, it hasn't been quite enough to help people realize, like, this is a voluntary program. The city's not, we have never made the promise of picking up grass clippings. And so that's caused some heartburn over the last few years that we've done that. So, I mean, I guess I sort of look at it as, are the benefits outweigh, or, the downsides, I think they're sort of outweighing some of the potential benefits with this. I think it has raised a lot of awareness about pollinator, creating pollinator habitat in your own yards, where I think we could do better, and it would, by not doing No Mow May, we could focus some of the energy that was spent on No Mow May into educating people on different ways of managing your lawn, which, Julia included a resource in the agenda packet on that, and that's something that Milwaukee MMSD promotes as a good stormwater management practice. So I think we could put our time into promoting the planned natural landscapes and using less herbicides and pesticides on your lawn. That's the other thing. People like to do No Mow May for a lot of different reasons. But I will say, if you're applying pesticides and herbicides to your lawn to suppress weeds and you're doing no mow May,
You're fighting yourself.
I don't know, that's a tough one.
Yeah. But that
Because
was-
you don't really have that many pollen, random flowers coming up in your yard anyway. So, yeah. So I mean, for those reasons, I think it would be good to pivot and promote other programs that we have and healthier practices, lawn care practices.
You know, I guess my only comment on all that is that no mow May resonates with people.
It's
And
good
very-
marketing.
It is, it's very, so it's difficult to say,
Land Natural Landscapes doesn't
you know,
have the
what
claim.
would
They
be
bring it down.
a comparable
November.
campaign that would
Natural
promote
landscape
pollinators that has that resonance that no mow May does? Because it's easy, it's like, yeah, wow, that's,
Yeah,
so what do we,
it's a bumper sticker.
it is, it's great, but I definitely agree. I mean, I just found a picture of my lawn from May 4th of the last year, and it's
Well, it
that
was
tall.
no mow April
That was,
last year.
yeah, well.
So really good
Anyway.
conversation, and thank you for entertaining, I guess, the quick pivot into some of that discussion. And I think maybe everyone maybe can think about some of this as it relates to like the next action item. As it relates to the work plan, it sounds like this item promoting flexibility around no mow May or low mow May. Is there a way that we can capture maybe more holistically promoting lawn care practices and landscaping practices that promote pollinator habitats? Like maybe we can revise that action item to be a little bit more broad so that it could capture potentially any no, low, or slow mow May work going forward, but also can capture some of the other options to use residential landscaping to promote pollinators. So I guess, anyone can weigh in, but at the end of the day, Ned, I think we're gonna wanna hear from you at some point about what you think of that and if you have any language recommendations.
I can speak to the bullet point,
Yeah.
and maybe rephrasing that to start with. Instead of promoting flexibility around no mow May or low mow May, and I wasn't even aware Appleton was calling it slow mow summer. Great, maybe promoting sustainable lawn practice, lawnscaping practices, would be a more broad way to say that.
I
And I
think,
guess, yeah, to that point, if we want to talk more about no mow May right now, I'm certainly willing to, otherwise I can wait till the next item.
So, yeah, for this item, I used your word lawnscaping. So I changed it to promote lawnscaping practices that support pollinator habitats. Could that be adequate just for the work
Sure.
plan at this point? Does that resonate?
I would do lawn and landscaping.
Lawn and landscaping, okay,
I think.
great, mm-hmm.
Sure.
Not to be too granular, but also the stormwater management part of it, right?
Yeah.
It's not just
do
the
we-
pollinator, or is that?
Yeah, I was just reading the other things to see if we.
Yeah, I think that's fine too. I do, mention biofilters and stormwater
Yeah.
facilities in one of the actions, so it certainly dovetails with healthy habitat.
I also think proper horticultural practices can tie into it too, in that, best practice for mowing lawn is to not remove more than 1/3 of the leaf blade at a time. So maybe horticultural practices for lawns and landscapes or something like that, that promotes pollinator habitat. I think we could go down a lot of avenues with it, but I
Like
think
you
that's
said
an important
before.
aspect of
Okay, I
it.
was like, tell me what to write. Okay, Do you have some language that you want me to include? Like,
Maybe like horticulturally and pollinator cultural, I can't say the word sound, horticulturally sound and
Mhm.
pollinator friendly lawns and landscapes or something like that.
Easy.
Yeah, we have to make it roll off the tongue better when it comes promotion time.
I mean, I don't have the quite the right words, so maybe Ned will come up with something, but I mean, it is like healthy lawns and landscapes, because the healthy habitat is about air, water, and the land, so.
True.
okay.
That incorporates the stormwater part, incorporates
Mhm.
the
I like that.
soil, so I don't know.
Okay, so you
Healthy
said
lawns and
promote
landscapes.
healthy
Lawns and
lawns
landscapes. This-
and
We'll be the only people
Healthy
who know
lawns
what
and
that
landscape
is.
practices.
Actually, I like that one.
As well as like
Yeah.
best management practices, which is, talked about for like pest management and things like that.
Healthy.
Healthy.
Best equals health.
Right.
Got a mouse in
All right, this is what I have so far. Promote healthy lawn and landscaping practices that support pollinator habitats and natural stormwater management
Or just stormwater management.
and stormwater.
Yeah, I don't think you need the word natural.
Okay,
Mhm.
good.
Stormwater
Jen, this is
quality.
yours at the end of the day. Are you good?
Stormwater quality or management.
I think management kind of encompasses a lot of stuff.
Quality and, okay.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Ned, you're
Because it's
good?
quantity and
You're
quality.
green lighting it?
Right.
Okay,
I'm good, I'm good.
all right. So,
Depends who you're writing.
And then adding that target date in June to promote the pollinator map.
great.
One more thing with the pollinator map, I know we have include biofilters and stormwater facilities in the pollinator corridor map. I'm wondering if we want to clarify that those would be like on city-owned property, or I think the pollinator map might encompass more than city-owned property, not 100% sure. So whether or not we want to identify,
I'm sure there's ways on the maps of indicating whether it's city-owned or not,
yeah, good point,
with icons.
sure. Okay,
And the bees probably aren't looking at the map.
because I guess,
Depending on if that map's in GIS.
well, and I guess like what I don't know is, are the natural plan landscapes on that map? Or is it all
No.
private, public, I'm not entirely sure.
We'll have to talk to a Conservation Corps person to find out the extent of the corridor map.
Sure.
Yeah, and it's a map that people have been able to send in via internet system where their landscape is and how much acreage it is. So it's really just been voluntarily people who want to drop that in there online. I guess the other target date, I guess I would like to add then for the item formerly known as NOMO, LOMO, would be to have that information, whatever we're going to say, to have something in place for the public by April. So they know ahead of time.
Ned, question on this. So when you say have information ready, are you talking having all of the information to promote healthy landscapes, residential landscapes like we just talked about? Or would it be okay if we had some information ready? Because I can't guarantee that staff is going to have everything ready by April.
To have some information ready would be fine. I just think that, whatever we choose to do as a city, it needs to be ready before May. Or that some information needs to be ready before May.
Yeah. And I will, we can definitely update the city's website to make sure that it's clear that NOMO May is not happening, if that's what's voted on, so that it's not a presumption.
And I think maybe along with that, maybe even just something short about other options to promote healthy lawn
Right,
and landscaping to
Yeah.
support pollinator
Looks like
habitat.
Jenny has her hand raised.
Yeah, go ahead, Jenny.
Yeah, thanks. This is a good segue, Krista. I was just thinking that the reasoning, that was it given earlier, why we should not do no mow May was really well done. So maybe capturing those comments and sharing the reasoning would be important, as well as the alternatives that Krista just mentioned.
Great, thank you. So I'm gonna put a pin in the no and low mow May conversation. We'll come back to that in the next discussion item. But in terms of the work plan, we've updated that action item, I think, to capture whatever the decision ends up being about mowing in May. And supporting other practices can be a part of that. Target date of April 2025, target date on the pollinator corridor map for June 2025. Ned, any other updates to the Healthy Habitats for All section? No, you're good? Okay. Any other comments on any other sections of the work plan? Going once? Going twice? All right. Then help me out with this, please. I think we said we would like to do an action to approve the commission work plan as amended. So incorporate these changes, and if you're all comfortable with it, we'll go ahead and finalize it and move ahead with the changes we just outlined. And what we talked about in our last meeting was publishing this on the website. So maybe we can have maybe I'll just start a motion and someone can help me phrase it. So move to approve the amended the 2025 Sustainability Commission work plan as amended and
As amended and discussed in.
discussed in our meeting.
Mhm.
Do I need to rephrase again, or can you capture that? So approve the 2025 Sustainability Commission work plan as amended per our discussion on 2/19/2025.
No move.
Awesome. Anyone have a second?
I'll second.
Corey seconds. So we have Ned. Oh, do you need a minute?
I'm catching up.
Yep, that's okay. I'm
Okay.
keeping in my mind who moved and seconded.
Okay, got it.
Okay. So Ned moved, Corey seconded. All in favor of approving the work plan?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great. Maybe, do we need a second action to say to suggest putting it on the website?
Isn't that part of the discussion?
Part of as discussed in the
Yeah.
meeting.
I thought that last time that was just, Melissa said that they would just do that. It
Okay.
wasn't needed as a.
No, I'll just do it.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So moved, okay. Good. I probably should have seen if any members of the public had comments on the work plan.
I just want to make sure I have this to approve the 2025
Mhm.
Sustainability Mission work plan as amended and discussed. Okay.
Is it the 25-26? That's what it's titled
That was the way, oh, you mean because to get the formal name
Right.
of it?
Mm-hmm.
I think we're gonna update it in 2026 anyway.
Okay.
We kept it as the way it was. This is addressed actually in this document, that we would have a work plan, oh, it's in the first paragraph. We'll update the work plan at the beginning of every year, but the duration of the document will coincide with the appointed alderperson's 2-year terms. So, per you, I think that's 2025 and 2026, right?
24.
Yeah, 24.
Oh, okay. Well, then I made that mistake.
Okay.
So do you want us to say 2025 or 25, 26 in the motion?
I would suggest it should be 25, because if it's.
And why don't we just, as amended, we'll amend it to include, just to say 2025 work plan.
Okay.
So I'm capturing these changes as we go, and I'll send them to you.
Or to be reelected. Include 2026.
All right. Did we do it?
Yes,
Did we-
I think so.
Thanks, we're good. All right. Thanks for bearing with us. Then the next item is to continue our discussion around no, low, slow, mo, may. And maybe this is a good opportunity to talk a little bit more about what we might promote in lieu of no, low, or slow, mo, may. And how we might support the public through the transition, if we were to move away from it. Any thoughts about some of that? Any more, as we've kind of had a moment to digest the concept of moving away from no, low, slow, mo, may?
Yeah, I mean, this is in your item report in your packet, but the recommendation that I have in there is that staff supports ending no mow may and recommends promoting healthy pollinator habitat through planted landscapes and lawn care practices that benefit stormwater management and pollinators. So, I mean, depending on how much more discussion there is around the item, that could be crafted into a motion. So it's not just, we're done with no mow may, and we don't want anything, you know, but it provides a segue to doing other things that may have more benefit.
Yeah.
So,
Starting point for discussion as phrased. I can say my first thought is maybe we can even soften this a little bit by saying supports ending a formal no mow may program.
I would caution against using that word because then it might seem that it's still happening, but we're just not.
Okay, got it. So people still don't have to mow during
Right,
May.
right, or they don't have to register, you know, to their lawn and get a sign and everything, because that was one of the things that staff recommended at the beginning of this, so that we could sort of manage those long grass complaints and sort of, you know, so.
Yeah, so that would kind of defeat the purpose by phrasing it
Yeah,
that
I
way.
think, you know, if you want to say, like, we're pivoting away from no mow may to promote other initiatives related to healthy pollinator habitat.
Yeah, I like that. I think a way to kind of demonstrate that it's not just like, oh, that was bad, we're doing this instead, but to kind of capture the evolution of a more holistic approach.
Grow mow may.
There you go, grow more flowers.
I think you could maybe capture both getting rid of the program and practices, because while some might think, I think some could think of it both ways. Whereas if the practices are going away, maybe the program's still staying, or you know what I mean? One or the other. But I think that could capture what we're trying to get at is we're getting rid of both of those things.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, I guess what we're really discussing is the city's participation in SLO, in no mow may, whereas, you know, it says staff, your recommendation is staff supports ending no mow may. Not really ending no mow may, you're ending the city's implementation of the
Right, we're
program.
ending it as a
As a formal,
as a program,
of the city.
as an offering.
Right.
Right.
But the recommendations of no mow may are still, well, maybe valid, I don't know. It depends.
I
don't
I
think
never
so.
thought so. I never thought so.
Okay, so,
I probably should have voted differently. Back 4 years
Is it
ago.
in the ordinance that you're allowed to, is it like an ordinance change essentially?
No.
Or it's
No.
a policy or anything? No, it was just a program.
It was a program. It was a
Okay.
program that Sustainability Commission brought forward in 2022. And then it went through committee. So I think it went through the Improvement Services Committee, went to Common Council, they said yes. And then that's how it started.
it's implemented in '23 and '24.
It was approved in 22, so we did 22 and 23 and 24.
We did 22? I'm just remembering how, I thought I only had my sign for 2 years, but maybe
I think we did it 3 years
Okay.
because it was based on like when I needed to order signs and when signs ran out and. Because
We did it in 1 week too.
Okay.
So it was formally approved that the city sponsored a No Mow May program, and we made the investment in, financial investment into staff time and buying signs and sending people out to address, different types of issues that happen with it. We had GIS staff working on it to map all of the properties and things like that. So that's what we're saying is ending.
So that
Program.
explanation brings me back to the thought of, I kind of like the idea of having language around ending the program, because it sounds like that's really,
Mm-hmm.
because we're not ending, like, it's not, it would be us recommending, right? That
Correct.
would be
Yeah,
essentially the action from the Sustainability Commission would be to recommend ending the No Mow May program, the city's sponsored No Mow May program
right,
or
it could
something,
be
right?
worded like that, yeah.
Right,
Um,
yeah, because when I see, discussion of possible action to discontinue No Mow May or the recommendation to end No Mow May, there's a certain negative connotation to saying that No Mow May is out. We're not saying that some of the principles of what we're talking about with healthy pollinator habitat corridors are bad. We're just saying that this program in itself is not working the way it was intended, or it's not having the effect, and there is a cost to the city that is not being seen as very successful in terms of what's going on. So it's there's more of an implication to saying end No Mow May than just that statement.
Yeah.
I think if you say the city's involvement in the No Mow May program, I think you're a little bit farther down that line. But then, as the recommendation from staff is, promoting healthy pollinator habitat is still a big part of what we're looking at. So we're saying end the program, but continue to provide education and encouragement of healthy pollinator habitats and so forth. I can't get that concisely into one recommendation at this point, but give me time and I might be able to. I'm not known for being brief, so.
Any other discussion to that effect? I think that's a good point. Others?
Not to complicate things,
Go ahead, Corey.
not to try and complicate things, but we talk about lawn care practices, but I think it's beyond lawn care practices. I think it's also landscape and lawn care practices.
Go ahead, Ned.
Yeah, I appreciate all the discussion. Just looking back at my notes, we actually started talking about this in 2020, and so yeah, that conversation went on for a long time. I think the point of No Mow May overall has been to get people to think differently about how we relate to and use our landscapes and what they're there for, and what they can be there for. And back when, I suppose I first brought this proposal up, the city wasn't doing a whole lot in the area of promoting pollinator habitat, at least not as compared to the last couple of years. The city's been doing, I think, a really amazing job, especially through the work of the Conservation Corps. You know, we've had people like Corey always involved in this. We've had a lot of good people, but I think as a city, you know, stance, I don't think it has been until pretty recently that we've seen kind of a whole-scale effort to put in planting for pollinators. So I think the city has evolved over the last several years on that issue. And from what I'm hearing, staff is ready to move on to something different as regards, you know, no mow May program. I am happy to evolve along with it. I think that, and I think I've always said that, no, like being a purist about not mowing in May is not the intent. I have mowed every year during May, during the no mow May, because I don't have the lawn equipment not to do that, right? So I've always said, you know, maybe mow a little bit less, slow mow May, or low mow May. And the biggest thing is, how are we making our landscapes healthier, right, for people and for pollinators? So I think what Mark said earlier about no mow May being something that people bought into, it's easy to buy into, right? It's kind of catchy. I think there's something to that. It got a lot of people thinking differently about their lawns and their landscapes and why we do the things we do. So I'm not comfortable with the idea of ending no mow May and that being the end, right? I am comfortable with the idea of transitioning out of no mow May into something broader and more impactful. But I really don't want it to be something relegated to the area of like educational pamphlets or talking at small meetings that very few people view or attend. I think that those signs were pretty popular. I know we quickly went through signs when they were first available. So I really think the public needs a chance to buy into something if we're transitioning to something different. And whether that's a new sign that says, I've got a pollinator-friendly yard, or whatever it might be. I have a healthy landscape, something like that. I think would still be really appealing to the public, to the people who are interested in no mow May for the reasons of promoting pollinator habitat. So my hope is that we would transition to something new that the public could still get a piece of and buy into and promote and be proud of, that they were a part of something.
Thanks for sharing that, Ned. I think that's really great insight. And Melissa, you had an idea kind of somewhat along those lines, right, of pivoting in terms of signage and how we can kind of still help people promote their commitment to.
Yeah, it was more, the idea was something that a few staff people were talking about in the last couple of weeks, but if it's decided to transition away from the city as offering No Mow May as a program and refocusing our efforts on planned natural, promoting planned natural landscapes, what that means. It doesn't mean that your whole yard has to be, no turf grass, and we have some great examples throughout the city of people that have registered their landscapes. The idea is to have a sign for those, people that sign up and they register their yard as a planned natural landscape, and it goes through that review process. And then assigning a sign for them, because what that does is, A, they're really proud of their yard, but it also helps educate their neighbors on, maybe why their lawn looks a little different than their neighbor's yard, for example. And I think that would go a long way to promoting the planned natural landscape, which is, in our ordinance, as planned natural landscapes. And then, I know the city already has some signs up in some of the area parks for pollinator habitat, and those are more substantial metal signs. I'm thinking of a couple off the top of my head, like at Baird Place. I'm not talking like super expensive signs for every, homeowner that wants to do this, but I think that's doable.
Yeah, I would definitely be in favor of a program that would allow people to get that sign, as a next step. Because I really think that is, it's the next thing. It's providing habitat for several months instead of thinking about 1 month,
Right.
So,
I mean, there's really a lot of things, we could do to build that sort of program. I use Milwaukee as an example because they have such a well-established program for like doing plant sales and encouraging, they do an annual plant sale. Now, is that something we could get going by next year? Probably not. It's a lot of planning and things like that. You need a lot of people, a lot of volunteers and people on board with it. But I think there's a lot that we could do as a city if we plan like year after year to grow our program. And in the conversations I've had with Milwaukee or with MMSD, I mean, all of their resources, they're like, use anything you want, rebrand anything you want, because we have that relationship, and I visited that with them and try to learn about their program. So I'm not saying we replicate it exactly, but I also don't want to waste time reinventing the wheel.
Yeah. That's fantastic, and I'll refer to our packet because you did include some of those resources
Yeah,
from MMSD.
Right, Julia had included that with
You did,
with
yeah.
her communication. Right. But we did that for our Rain Barrel program.
Yeah.
We used their resources and we rebranded it with City of Green Bay, and that we have all the permissions that we need to be able to do those things. That's part of the Fresh Coast Guardians mission, is to help other Great Lakes cities do some of these types of programs. I mean, we still have to have the resources and put money behind it, for those things. But I think it's a good starting point.
Could we use some of that as a starting point for resources to have up by April? Does that seem realistic or not necessarily?
I think we just have to talk to our print shop people and other people that would be doing that kind of work to see
Yeah.
what we could do.
Gosh, sorry, I have a few, I just wanted to first acknowledge, Ned, your comments, like I agree with completely everything.
Yeah.
I mean, that there are some really good things that came about it, for sure. No Mow May, the thing is so actionable, and you're actually asking people to do less work, and that's why it works so well too, because
Right.
oh, great, I don't have to mow. That's like easy. Go plant a garden, that's like work, right? So,
Right.
So we are sadly losing a very good marketing tool here. But I think the how and what we focus on could be definitely, there's tons across the country, there's plenty of ideas, my colleagues use rainscaping as a really, I kind of like that term too, for some of the rain barrels and rain gardens and stuff like that, butterfly gardens, stuff and so I feel trying to figure out like how to do it better. But I agree 100% about the
easy-
pamphlets, Ned, too. So
Right.
if I design another brochure, never again.
Right.
So I just don't think they were effective.
Right.
So that kind of education. So like be more strategic about like what we're specifically doing around planned natural landscapes and stuff like that. And then Wild Ones has like signs already, and we can get different examples of different signs and see which ones maybe our city likes more. You know, I definitely have seen lots of examples out there. So I guess I know we are losing definitely something in that, but too.
And I do want to acknowledge most urban lawns, especially in this area, I would say, are mostly lawn, or most landscapes are mostly lawn. And so I feel like trying to get people to convert lawn to natural plant landscapes is great. But like you said, for a lot of people it's work. They don't have the knowledge. Some people don't want to learn, you know. And so I guess I'd like to see somehow still acknowledging ways of managing and or integrating more pollinator-friendly plants into existing lawns, you know, things like that as being part of our next move. Because it's, I mean, lawn across the US takes up a huge portion of landscapes. And I think it is an important part of overall healthy habitats to think about the amount of fertilizers that end up in the bay, Green Bay, and things like that, and mainly which come from lawns. So I think the more we can focus along with the natural plant landscapes on how to manage turf maybe in a reimagined way is important too.
And I mean, maybe even offering some guidance around incorporating the concepts of slow-mo May or low-mo, like, you know, rather than investing in signs, maybe it's like one guidance document that talks about like, hey, how do you take care of your lawn to better promote pollinator habitats year-round, right? Even if people aren't ready to like move away from having a lawn, but you say, oh, you actually, you know, keep it at, I don't know, someone said like 3 inches. Did someone say that? I could
Yes.
be making that up.
Yeah.
Okay. So
It's
keep
in the
it
book. It's in
at
the book.
like X inches, right?
Right.
And we recommend mowing this frequently throughout the year.
Right.
So we build on what was
Mulching your lawn
successful.
clippings, yeah.
Yeah,
Things
building,
like that,
Which is
that
natural.
if they're gonna mow anyway, they could just maybe mow a little differently.
Right.
Right.
And so still kind of like building on the what was good about No Mow May, people are like, oh, it's less work. We can still frame it as like, hey, here's how to, you know, promote natural landscapes the easy way. I don't know. Like we can still kind of build on that reality, I think. And it maybe doesn't have to be some huge lift like the existing program is, because like you said, there's lots of resources out there. So if we can say, okay, ultimately we want to help people move to not turf, maybe, right? But in the meantime, are there resources we can provide to help people continue to move toward, you know, but still taking better care in the meantime?
Yeah, the phrase, I don't know who threw it out there that resonated with me right off the bat was slow-mo summer. So that it's,
Yeah.
you know, it implies a lot of different things. And it's
Yeah.
not just 1 month, and it's something that you can build it in any way you want to.
Yeah.
But it could be, you know, transitioning from No Mow May to a slow-mo summer.
That
And
sounds very hot.
Pardon?
I would just say like the also
I
just
know.
from a marketing perspective, like slow mo doesn't mean anything. Like
That's
you know,
right.
like no mo means something. Oh,
No.
like you know,
But-
so like you, it's just like it's again. I think being really strategic about how we're doing outreach
Yeah.
and educational programming is probably a good use of resources. You know, because we could take the resources it took for those people, code enforcement people, to go out there and talk to people and go plant, just buy some pollinator kits and go to some volunteer residents, you know, and plant them for them. So
Well, I
with
was
that
thinking
money.
about that. Is that something like Conservation Corps could do? Could you like sign up and get a sign that says, "Come put natural seeds in my lawn"? Is that?
See, I think that we should think about that. But
Or even like seed packets, right? Where you can say like, here's like a butterfly seed mix. You can toss it in a bare patch, you know,
Right.
like little things that help move people along.
Right.
That don't have to be huge investments
Mhm.
necessarily.
I'd also like to chime in on that note. Does every neighborhood have a plant sale? I learned so much about native plants from my neighbors during those plant sales, and that may be an opportunity to hand out those seed packets or transition this to a new era.
Maybe even building on some of the work that Alex has done with the neighborhood associations, and maybe a few of us can volunteer to go talk to even just our own neighborhood associations, right? If we get some messaging outlined by April, to be able to just share some of that neighborhood associations, kind of to your point, Jenny, could be. I don't know if that's impactful or not. I don't know how impactful Alex's work has been in that regard, but if that was successful, maybe we could do a similar model.
I think Ned made a really good point about how the city, since this was introduced, has really evolved, and just leading by example and like promoting it through the core and stuff I agree. I think that probably has made that's really been, it's become a thing,
Yeah.
It's not something that no one thinks about or talks about anymore.
Could I read what I've captured so far as a possible recommendation from our discussion? It's kind of long. But I just want to read it and then you guys can respond. So the Sustainability Commission recommends ending the city-sponsored No Mow May program in favor of promoting landscape and lawn care practices that promote healthy pollinator habitats through planned natural landscapes and other practices to benefit stormwater management and pollinators. While No Mow May appears to have been effective in raising awareness about the impact of lawn care and landscaping practices on pollinators, the Commission recognizes that the resource cost of implementing the program has outweighed the tangible benefits and is in favor of pivoting to more impactful programs. I know that's a mouthful, but.
No, I can type it.
I can send it to you. I mean, but,
I
so.
like
It
the
captures,
overall-
I think it captures most
everything.
of what was discussed.
Right, as a motion, I think the first sentence, I think, captures the
Sufficient,
motion.
yeah.
Is efficient and captures the whole motion.
Yeah.
The rest is the rationale behind it.
And
but I
maybe
like
we
them
can
both.
put it into, I don't know if we
Yep.
need a formal recommendation. It sounds like there was a lot of formality that went into the No Mow May movement, and I want to honor that by being
Right.
somewhat formal about it, I guess is
Mhm.
my thought. I don't know, do we put it into a recommendation document? I can do that.
Well, what we do is, when these, you vote on whatever motion you decide
Mhm.
tonight, and then that will go into the council report. And that council report, there's a specific item report that's generated in their packets.
Okay,
So the background information, that can be the background information.
great,
The larger paragraph of what
Yep.
you read off.
yep.
So that's what I would say, unless the commission wants to put that whole thing as the motion.
No. See, I'd like to say, if you can, since you've got it written,
Yeah,
if you don't
I'm
mind.
send it to her.
Yeah, well, using that first
The first sentence,
sentence
yep.
as the
I'll
motion.
make the motion. Mm-hmm.
So,
Go ahead, Ned.
Thank you. Melissa, do you have any concerns that any budget that was set aside or would have been set aside for the signage for No Mow May would not be available this year if we were to transition to something else?
We did not budget any additional signage in 2025 because we have signs left over from last year.
Okay.
So it was more of a time resource allocation than a money resource allocation.
And every
Mhm.
year, from the first year, second year, third year, the registration has dropped off.
Okay.
It's dropped off, so we base the signs on how many people have registered, and then people stopped registering, even though I think they were still participating. Because they had their sign, darn it all, and then they stopped. They didn't go through the process of signing up online.
Right.
Okay?
So if we were to have another program with signs, what budget would that come from?
Well, we wouldn't have a budget for it in this fiscal year, in the current year that we're in right now.
But we wouldn't have had a budget for signs anyway.
Right.
But we would have had signs.
We
That's-
would
I
have
guess
had no
that's my-
Monet signs, right? The
that's my
leftovers.
Quandary here is that how does the public,
And we can't use those anyway because it was co-branded with City of De Pere and City of Green Bay, and De Pere's not doing the program anymore.
Well, I do see the issue with, so if we get rid of No Momet in the city, somebody's probably gonna write an article about that, that's gonna be on social media, we don't have No Momet anymore.
And they did the same thing to De Pere as well.
Right, but without an alternative right away, then it just lies dormant for another year until we get whatever we have to get a new program. So I'm not saying that should dissuade us, but.
We don't need to create a new program because we already have a program. It's called Plan Natural Landscapes.
Right.
So,
So we don't necessarily need signs, but like to Ned's point earlier, right, it's on his action item in the work plan by April to have some additional resources to support whatever we pivot to.
right, and I mean, I would honor that with, you know, staff putting time into making sure we have things to put on social media and to make sure that we have other resources that we can put out there for the public. But as far as like pivoting that quickly and having signs for, I think it's gonna take longer to figure out the sign issue.
Well, just generally, I guess my point is that this will be, I mean, very small, but a news event, and we should use that news event to bring on the next thing, whatever that is. So yeah, if that is Plant Natural Landscapes, if we use that opportunity to talk about it.
Is anything available about Plan Natural Landscapes on city,
It's,
or what is
it's on the
available, I guess?
website.
So
Yeah,
it's on the website?
It is on the website. It's under the, in the stormwater section.
Mhm.
So if somebody searched Plain Natural Landscapes, it's there. The process of doing that and registering for that or participating in that is all there.
So when you envision someone potentially like picking up on, I'm just gonna, it'll sound dramatic, but picking up on this news story, right? How do you envision them identifying that? Like through our meeting notes from today, or like what goes to commission?
Well, when it goes to council.
When it goes to council?
I mean, I read about the De Pere ending it, I don't know
Yeah.
how I read about De Pere ending it.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
And they did social media.
Yeah.
They said we're focusing our efforts on, you know.
So it was somewhat similar.
Mhm.
I'm just wondering if, okay, if they're gonna pick it up in like the, you know, meeting notes that go to council, can we include a link to the Plan Natural Landscapes webpage, or
Can at a
can we put
min-
that in the packet?
can at a minimum, we call it healthy landscapes and lawns or something, not, I don't know, and then.
Healthy landscape.
Yeah, so can we just
The
like-
Plain Natural Landscape is how it's called in the ordinance.
I understand.
But that doesn't mean, I mean, I might be speaking out of turn, but I don't think we need to frame a whole program design around that, or, you know, using that same language. But if we're gonna refer people to the ordinance, and the ordinance has the steps, that's what it's called.
Let's call it Healthy Lawn Summit. No Momet is dead. Long live Healthy Lawn Summit.
So it's, you know, and it's really not, the focus of Plain Natural Landscapes isn't getting rid of turf grass. That's
Yeah.
not what it is. It's promoting.
I know, I'm just
different-
saying if we're
yeah.
gonna talk about a new thing, we should just immediately start talking about healthy lawns and landscapes. And like, for example, we have a Plan Natural, you can put in this Plan Natural, which I'm not totally sure what the difference between that is and just a garden of flowers. But
So that's-
Could be edible plants, could be, you know, different types of native trees that are native to Wisconsin or the Midwest. It gets pretty specific on
yeah, any
things.
kind of a intentional, like, most, you know, native planting.
Mhm. I would say, I think this is a great discussion. However, I think this would be great for the work group to take up, like, over the next month, to talk about some of the specifics of what's being discussed right now and come to a motion.
It's, yeah, and it sounds like there's a lot of work for the Healthy Habitats work group on this item in particular. Ned, do you have the resources you need on that work group?
Well, I think what I would probably do is talk with Corey,
She
pretty
had to
closely
leave
on
at
that.
6, sorry.
I don't, is she in there?
No, she had to leave at 6, she's gone.
Yeah, God, I really want a piece for the public to be able to hang on to this year. And maybe that is just asking them to register on the pollinator corridor map project and or on the planned natural landscape site with the idea that there will be new signs coming within, I guess, the next year for anybody who would like to promote that. I don't know, I agree with the Alder that this will create a little bit of a news item that we could capitalize on.
So are you comfortable, Ned, with kind of working in on that from a work group angle and with Melissa to kind of get the word out through city web pages
Yeah, I think Melissa and
And
Corey
social
can
media.
definitely
and social
put our
media?
heads together.
Do we, I guess, Melissa, do we have to have a motion today on the no mow? Because, so we're in February, March, April, do we have a month? Can we defer action until next month so that we can come up with a formal statement of what we want to do? A more robust.
I think that could be a whole different motion.
Yeah, but I, you know, it's, as soon as we say we're gonna end no mow May, that is.
That's the action.
That's the action, and it's gonna grab attention. If we come out a month later and say, well, and we're gonna replace it with X, Y, Z, that's gonna get lost in discussion at that point. We wanna capture the public's interest all at one time by saying, okay, ending this, but, and then our next action is that part.
If you think a month is even enough time to have
Well,
that good of an idea to be able to put forth, you know what I mean? It's still,
I think it'd be better than trying to figure it out tonight, just by itself.
Mhm.
You know, 1 month, we can just make a point of that's, okay, if we don't get anything accomplished by the next month, we will
Right.
come back to this motion and do it that way.
yeah, I mean,
and
I
lose
think
that.
that's up to the work group. I think the main thing of how it probably grew from was that it's being taken out of the work plan.
So the way we
Specifically-
phrased the work
Right,
plan though
right.
doesn't mean it, theoretically, if we decided as a commission not to recommend taking out no mow May, the way the work plan is phrased still allows for
The promotion.
promoting no
Right.
mow May.
Mhm.
We just made that a little bit more broad, I think. So I think these can be separate issues.
So the motion then tonight would be to table,
I don't think we have a motion yet, but I think that's what you're
to
suggesting.
table,
Do we hold this
the
item?
discussion and possible action to next month?
And he's just, I think, wanting to confirm, will that be too late for the city to act this year? If,
I don't know. I mean, the work group has to do some of the work on it, right? It's not all,
we
I
need for
don't
no
know.
mow May.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, specifically, the work group has the time to come up with something else, because we're gonna do that. We're not gonna take an action per se this year, but we
Yeah.
will have a recommendation for an action for the coming year, so that it lessens the negative impact of saying, oh,
Sure.
cutting out, no, again, no mow May resonates with people.
right.
So what are we doing to move that forward instead of it? I also think that having De Pere already do this,
I don't think
kinda
it's
lessens
gonna
the
really be that
impact
big of a
for
deal.
us.
I really don't.
yeah, I don't think it's gonna be huge either. You're gonna get somewhere a line that says, yep, City of Green Bay's not doing it either. But again, if there's any attention on this, then I would rather it came with an action on our part that promotes, you know, healthy habitats of one kind or another. Whatever, or at least a statement saying we are going forward with other aspects, because it's still,
Mhm.
the concepts of what No Mow May was trying to promote are
Valid.
valid.
Right.
Exactly. It's just that that particular program is not doing what we intended, or whatever that language is. I don't have that language with me.
So back to my question to you, Ned, is do you have the people you need on the Healthy Habitats for All work group, or do you need some extra volunteers for at least the next month to be able to put some messaging together?
We would certainly be happy to have extra volunteers. I think if you're volunteering, you're certainly welcome. I don't know if that's what you're saying, but,
I can if you need me to, but I more wanted to just offer to the group, right? If there's anyone who wants to contribute, even just specifically to this conversation as part of that work group, I just wanted to bring it up. That
yeah, is there anyone at the table who has kind of got an angle on this that really wants to talk it through?
I mean,
If
I
you'd
can,
like to loop me into the conversation, depending on time, I'd be happy to help think through it.
You could,
and I can come, but I can bring some like examples of different ways. It has
So if
been-
anyone has ideas, maybe you can email them to Ned if
Yeah.
you have contributions, and
Yeah.
then Daniela, you'll kind of support and bounce ideas with Ned and Corey, so that we can
Yeah, if
have.
there's any sort of meeting, loop me in and I'll try and support that conversation.
Who's on, can I ask who's on the Healthy Habitat work group?
I think it's just Ned and Corey,
Ned
right?
and Corey, and so then if Julia and Daniela are also like,
I think you just said you were gonna offer
Oh,
some
okay,
resources, she's
yeah.
not joining it necessarily.
so if you have a work group meeting, you can keep it at 4 people
Yep.
that are on the commission.
right. Right, yep. Getting back to the motion here, because I don't know that we need to table it, I just think we need to say that we're transitioning to X, whatever X is. And I feel like if we go back to the work plan that we updated tonight, what did we say in that item? What was the language we used to
We
replace
said,
the
let
no
me
mow maze?
get back
low
to
mow
it.
maze item?
We said promote healthy lawn and landscaping practices that support pollinator habitats and stormwater management.
So I think it's okay to say that and to say, because what, this will go to council when? When's the next council meeting?
I think it's, let me just, probably next week. I'll have to look.
There's evaluation going on now.
I'm trying to open up my Outlook calendar right now to see.
Sure.
It's March 4th.
Oh, okay. So 2 weeks.
So there's time. And I think between now and then, if Alder Presley wants to talk a little more, we could talk as far as what might be if the media does approach the city regarding this item. Well, here's what it means to transition from no mow May to promoting healthy landscapes and for pollinators and stormwater, right? And then you can sign up your landscape on the pollinator corridor if you want to. You can apply for a registered planned natural landscape if you'd like to. Signs will be coming out in 2026, right? Or, we'll have some ideas of what people can grab onto, I think by March 4th.
Does that
Yeah.
meet your concern?
I think so, yeah.
So here's what I have so far capturing those ideas as a possible motion. The Sustainability Commission recommends ending the city-sponsored No Mow May program in favor of promoting a more holistic approach to landscape and lawn care practices that promote healthy pollinator habitats.
So moved.
Yeah.
All right, so Mark moves that, Ned, you second it?
I'll second that, sure.
Okay. All Are we ready to say in favor? All in favor?
And that was the
Aye.
second.
Yes.
Aye.
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 Any opposed to that motion? So moved. And Ned, let all of us know, I can offer to you if you find yourself in need of more hands, even outside of a formal meeting, but just, you know, research or phrasing or whatever, you can call on me. And Mark
Sounds good.
thinks so too.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. My only concern for not volunteering was that we hit that limit
Yeah.
of, don't all come together at one time,
Yeah.
no rolling quorums, you know, those kinds of things.
Absolutely.
So you have the non-quorum support of the commission, should you need more hands for this
Sounds
work.
good.
I think we're all on board that we think there's a good opportunity here. And we want to support the efforts. And to city staff too, right? To give you, Melissa, a clear recommendation to go forward with. So, do you want me to send you this?
Please.
Yep.
So now we've talked about it a bunch and nobody's gonna care at all.
And maybe not, but we do, we are.
Oh, we're on it.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just gonna send this to her, I will forget. Forgive the abrupt email. Okay, awesome discussion, everyone. We were moving on to the informational section of our meeting. We have a report from the Clean Energy Work Group. Jenny, I know we drafted some language. Anything you want to speak to while I pull up that formal report?
It just is really nice that we have a lot of support in the city from the folks you see listed. New North, Oneida, Focus on Energy, WPS, all of these folks kind of coming together and sharing resources for helping medium and small commercial and industrial businesses in Green Bay with saving energy. So a couple of the programs that were recently covered were the Focus on Energy program updates for businesses, as well as this program through NWTC, the Industrial Assessment Center, which is offering to do training within commercial and industrial businesses, as well as energy audits. And of course, there's some limitations on that, but overall, really great support and a group of people coming together to share these resources primarily. And then we're also discussing ways to track the city's progress towards decarbonization. So we've shared data as a group and hoping to progress that as well with Focus on Energy's help. So you can take a look at the notes from that group. You're welcome to join us as long as we don't have, I guess, more than 4 of us at the meeting, or maybe that would be okay.
Yeah, and so we had a working group roundtable on February 4th, and our next one will be in early June, so we're on track for quarterly sessions. Great. Do we need a motion to receive and place on file? Is that what it is? All right, I move to receive and place on file the Clean Energy Work Group report.
I'll second.
Jenny seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Placed on file. Excellent. Next up, staff reports. We're on to you, Melissa.
Okay, I'll just catch up in the.
Sure, no problem.
Clerk.
While we're doing that, I'll just note, if anyone wants to read through the meeting notes, we did put our whole meeting notes and some resources from the Large Energy User Roundtable in the notes, partly because we wanted it to go to the city council so they can kind of see the traction.
Yeah. Okay, so for staff reports, Alex and I put together a couple of updates for the past month. For the Energized Green Bay update, he's been hosting neighborhood clean energy info sessions. And I don't know if the poster was attached to the packet. It doesn't look like it. But on the Energized Green Bay website, all of the info sessions are posted there. He's done 4, I think, so far. We're hoping for better attendance. It's been a little bit low. So anything you can do to help encourage people to attend those would be great. They're scheduled from last month going into March. And community partnerships, we have all of those professional service agreements approved now, and so we're getting those signed. And you can see the different organizations that we have partnerships with. And let's see here, we have MREA is the Midwest Renewable Energy Association, and they approached the city a couple of months ago to see if we would want to partner with them on a Grow Solar group buy program. And what that is the city helps by letting them use our logo, and we might promote it on social media. But basically what happens is this week they issued a request for proposal, and it went out to contractors all over Green Bay and Fox Valley area to do a group buy on solar. And so when a contractor puts in a proposal for this, if we get enough people, it's not for city buildings, this would be like for residents that are interested in putting solar on their house. The more people that are interested in buying through this group buy, it brings the cost down if you want to put solar on your house. So that was just issued this week, and they've done this in many cities in Wisconsin with a lot of success. So it's a way of promoting our clean energy plan with putting renewables on people's homes. We did ask the question on like how much could on an average type household system, how much could someone save, versus going out just on their own without being in a group buy. And they said around 15% would be like what not your energy savings, but on the cost of the system. So anybody that is interested in that, we'll be having hopefully more news, and hopefully there'll be lots of proposals submitted for the RFP. And then we're continuing to do some work on the Resilience and Sustainability Hub. And that'll be just a work in progress as we get more information from city departments. And then the 2 updates that I have in there are for East River Emily Park and East River Van Beaver Park. You can see there how much grant funding has been secured. We have about just under $400,000 secured, and the 90% designs are all finished. So we have enough money to keep going with the project, which is great news. We also are waiting on a few applications to get word back on those. And yeah, so that's chugging along, and the project website's all updated. So you can check that out. And then for Van Beaver Park, we're in a planning process through a grant that it's a grant through the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Cities Initiative and NOAA, and that will go to 60% design for a flood resiliency restored wetland area in Van Beaver Park. We're also working a lot with the neighborhood to make sure that we're getting some of their needs addressed too, as far as the park amenities and the master plan for the park and for the trail as well. So we were actually just informed that, because originally through this grant opportunity, it was only supposed to they had enough money to get to 60% design, but they have a little extra money left over, so they said they could take it to 90% if we want to keep going with it, which is great. I mean, that's a lot of engineering fees. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy about that. Any questions?
Only for me, is any of the funding that's secured so far threatened by some of the funding freezes or
Not the funding that's secured.
administration? Okay.
The funding that's still pending, that, that we haven't, the 4 million that that I said is like in pending grant applications, that's been applied for. We haven't received word one way or the other whether the city will win that money. So, yeah. But the ones that's secured is secure, so.
I was gonna let you know that this year, there is, the DNR has a urban non-point source and stormwater management grant program.
Mhm.
And this year, it's open for planning projects, which is every other year, so. And it's underutilized, so, and it's due in April.
Mm.
So I'm just throwing that out there.
I
It's
don't
a
know
good,
if we
it's a
have a
good
need
grant
for
program.
more planning right now. We're looking for more implementation grants,
Okay.
unless you think there'd be a way of supplementing something here. We can talk
Okay.
after the meeting on that, or maybe tomorrow, just to see, because I am aware of that grant program.
Okay, and it just happens only every other year,
Right.
so, and it's underutilized, so if there's a need, some small tiny stormwater need.
Okay, okay, for planning.
Ordinance, like maybe it's a Green Street design
Right.
or something, or I
Okay.
don't know, something with the ordinance that needs
Sure.
MMS, whatever, I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
Great. Any other questions for Melissa? Right, we don't have to have any action
You
on
want to
that?
do, just a receive and place on file?
All right, I move that we receive and place the staff report on file.
Second.
Who's that?
Alder Sills. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, on file. Our next Sustainability Commission meeting is March 19th at 5 PM. Do we have to move to adjourn?
Mm-hmm.
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Adjourned. Why do we have to move to adjourn but not to open?
Aye.
So Mark Walter, that was and who seconded?
I did. All right, thanks all.
We can't vote to
Is
open
the
the meeting
recording
'cause
still
the
on?
meeting
Meeting's
hasn't started.
Yeah.
The recording is still on.
Recording stopped.
Now you can speak freely.
Just,
It's like every meeting ends with, is the recording still on? It's gonna be like permanent public